So is there moments that you feel like, okay, like I'm tired, or this is too much, or I don't need to do this anymore? And how do you go back to like kind of your purpose?
Yeah, I mean, my why is very, very simple. It's a little mission statement that I created for Castle Law, which is that we want to help people create a life worth living, a business worth owning, a career worth having, and a life worth living, and a legacy worth leaving. And Janine, what I've done with Castle Law, and you mentioned that you have a lot of entrepreneurs that watch this, and I want to just share just a little glimpse at what Castle Law is. Most professional services have been disrupted by private equity. Dental offices, doctors' offices, they're all being purchased by private equity.
Welcome back to another episode of Simple Chat. I'm your host, Janine Cascio, the CEO and founder of Simple Lending Financial. And today we have Gary Davidson with us from Castle Law. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Janine. I mean, what a 5-star day that I get to be on Simple Chat with Janine, the famous Janine with Simple Lending. That's so awesome. My name's Gary Davidson. I own Castle Law. We're actually the largest real estate investor law firm in the United States, and we're based here right in Chicago, Illinois.
Awesome. Yeah. And we've just recently started doing business together, and I'm going to say 5-star experience. Like, I love your law firm so much. So it's been awesome. A pleasure working with you so far.
Thanks.
So, how did you get started in, being a law firm within the private lending space? I just feel like it's such like a niche space. So, kind of like, how did you get started with that?
Yeah, I mean, let me just give you, I want to give you just a tad bit of background and let you know how I got in the private lending space, because really it starts with how I became a lawyer. And when I was a kid, my dad worked as an assembly line worker and my mom worked as a secretary. And I used to ride my bicycle over to my buddy's house, whose father was a lawyer, and he lived on a lake, and he had tennis courts. And so I saw this and I'm like, boy, this is what I want to be when I grew up. And the secret to his success was really relationships. And so I just realized that my currency is really relationships, it's not money. And so I started representing a lot of investors who were buying and selling single family homes, started representing hedge funds, private equity groups. And one of the things that I noticed is that most people in business view relationships as like a vendor-vendee relationship, where I provide you a service, your client, or you compensate me for money with money. And really, that's sort of a shallow type of a relationship, right?
Very
Um,
transactional.
yeah. So a relationship that's built based on a partnership where I have a responsibility to you, Janine, to help you grow and scale your business, sort of called the go-giver attitude, where we connect you with
Mhm.
investors, is something that I've always focused on. So as I started building relationships with different people in the hard money lending space and national lenders, I started providing them and connecting them with all of my investors, because what do investors covet? They covet access to inventory and access to money. So why wouldn't I try to help people that I work with? Why wouldn't I want to see Janine succeed? So as I started doing that, we built these relationships. I loved watching people succeed, started driving business to people. And then naturally from that, even though I was giving without any expectation of return, eventually people said, well, gee, this is somebody that I want to align with.
Yeah. And did you always have that mindset? Have you read the book Go Giver?
I have. Awesome book.
Okay. Yeah, it's a great book.
It's phenomenal. It's literally, you know, part of my core belief of just helping people without any expectation of return, because truly my currency really is relationships. Having grown up when my dad was on strike, I had a perfectly fine background. I didn't have dirt floors, but we didn't have a lot. So I have a very low need. I mean, I wear Pabst Blue Ribbon pants to the golf course, right? It's that kind of sort of a humble type of a approach, because I really, what motivates me is helping other people and watching people succeed. As long as I have enough money to do what I need to do, that's all that's
Yeah.
necessary. But really, from that sort of attitude, that sort of not focusing on money as being the measurement of success, it's actually turned out to be make me hugely successful.
That's amazing. Yeah. I recently just closed our biggest day yet, which was like over 7 million on a single day. And like even my boyfriend was like, okay, like what are you gonna do now? Like I'm like, the same thing I do every day. Like it makes no difference because I already am truly doing what I want to do every day, with or without money. So, what is your big why? And you did mention a few things that keep you motivated, but as you know, to be an entrepreneur and to be, a business owner in a space, you have to find that like desire and that passion to keep going. So is there moments that you feel like, okay, like I'm tired or this is too much or I don't need to do this anymore? And how do you go back to like kind of your purpose?
Yeah, I mean, my why is very very simple. It's a little mission statement that I created for Castle Law, which is that we want to help people create a life worth living, a business worth owning, a career worth having, and a life worth living, and a legacy worth leaving. And Janine, what I've done with Castle Law, and you mentioned that you have a lot of entrepreneurs that watch this. And I want to just share just a little glimpse at what Castle Law is. Most professional services have been disrupted by private equity. Dental offices, doctors' offices, they're all being purchased by private equity. But if you had to think about it, the majority of law firms in the United States are 5 attorneys or less. So if you go outside of Houston, Texas, or if you go outside of New York or Chicago, if you go to, you know, the smaller or mid-sized towns, Peoria, Illinois, Columbus, Ohio, they don't have a lot of law firms. And attorneys trade time for dollars. So more than 50% of an attorney's time is spent on non-revenue generating activities. And so at the end of the day, these attorneys are missing their kids' sports. They don't have a life. And so what we've done with Castle Law is we've brought these attorneys on, created economies of scale, and we're giving them back their time because we're now doing all of that 50% of their time that they spend on non-revenue generating activities like running their books, doing the payroll, all of those things. And we give that time back to them and they can spend it with their family. They can go golfing. They can make more money. And that's how we've grown our company throughout the United States is by helping people have a business that's actually worth owning where they don't die at the desk, have a life that's worth living. Lawyers have a high divorce rate, they have high alcoholism, suicide, drug addiction. And this sort of
Wow.
framework can work in all other businesses. I don't care if you're selling toothpicks or you're selling legal services. We're in a relationship business. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. No one's ever asked me, Janine, I bet you that we'll work together for the next 20 years. And there's never going to be a time where you're going to call me and say, man, that subordination clause in those loan documents, that was the most amazing subordination clause I ever read. Like, you're not judging me based on that, right? You're judging me based on the fact that I'm there for you when you call, that your
Yeah.
clients can trust me, that they feel good about that, and we're creating a great experience for them.
Yeah. Wow. That just nails it. Just providing the value and making sure people feel safe and even seen and by picking up the phone that's an awesome trait to have. And even Gina from your office, I love like when she calls the office and she's just energized and she's like, "Hey, Sydney there." Like it's just like a good relation. Like you feel warm when we get a call from Castle Law, so I appreciate that. Do you have any other final tips and tricks that you use to be an entrepreneur in this space? Do you have any like maybe mentors that you followed or other books? I know we mentioned The Go Giver, which is an awesome book to reference, but any other tips and tricks you have?
I've got a business coach every Thursday morning.
Wow.
I get up at about 3:30 in the morning and I have a coaching call at 4:15. About 2 or 3 years ago, I put up a post on Facebook and I had said I checked all my boxes, I accomplished everything, and a guy by the name of Steve Werner reached out to me and he private messaged me and he kind of called BS on me and he said, "It looks like you haven't taken care of your health," because at that time I was, I think, getting upwards close to 250 pounds. Now, in context, I'm 5'9". Okay. So 250 pounds on a 6'4" frame is okay. At 5'9", I was a systemic risk to my family and to my business. And so I adopted a concept. And by the way, the 415 thing, when he asked me when I wanted to do the coaching call, I said, I'm not really a morning person. Can we do it in the afternoon? And he said, well, then we'll start at 4:15 in the morning. I said, I don't think you heard
Yeah.
me. And he said,
Dude,
no, I
stop.
heard you loud and clear, because it's all about getting uncomfortable. So I started down this path, which I call gritty wellness. And what gritty wellness is doing what other people won't to get where other people can't. And it's inspired me, as a leader in my company, as the owner of Cascio Law. How can I expect other people to be disciplined and to be quote unquote gritty if I show up, and I can say this word because it's me, if I show up like a fat slob, right? That's not gritty. That's not
Mm-hmm.
discipline.
Yeah,
So how
lead by
so
example.
so just doing that, and the other component was for entrepreneurs, I want them to think about this, and this was transformational for me. If we think about a pie chart, right? For the first 35 or 40 years of my life, my business was part of my life. Or excuse me, my life was part of my business. I got that reversed. My life was part of my business. So I would be at Disney World with my family. And I was present, but I really wasn't. I was looking down at my phone. And it created a great deal of resentment with my wife. And I didn't understand why. I'm like, your father was an assistant city planner. My dad was an assembly line worker. You are driving a brand new Range Rover. You live in this 8,000 square foot house. Like, I was giving my wife all of this material stuff, and
None of that matters.
none of it
It was
mattered. None of it
your
mattered
time.
because I wasn't present. And I made a shift, and I decided that I was going to have my business part of my life rather than my life part of my business. And when I made that shift, and when I got quote unquote gritty, my business went through the roof, and I became a much better mentor to the people around me and to my clients and to all of the people that work as part of the Cascio Law family. Very, very incredibly strange, right? Because one would think that if you spend more time in your business, that it will yield higher results. But I focused on my
On you.
personal health, wellness, and my personal relationships, and my business took off. So shifting that paradigm, I think, for business owners is a massive, massive thing that will help them get to that next level, to that top tier of whatever industry they're in.
Yeah, that's awesome. I don't know if you ever read any of the John Gordon books, but there's one that he says the CEO's title, the real title is always Chief Energy Officer, like coming in with the energy and the vision and the passion. And but if you don't have that energy yourself, like how do you expect to anyone else around you to be energized? Like, so you always have to focus on you and making sure you come prepared day in and
Exactly.
day out.
People, we are we're a leader every day, whether we know it or not. And it's not just
Hmm.
to our employees, it's to those of us around us, it's to the person that we meet at Starbucks. And we
Yeah.
can have a transformational experience on the people that we interact with and change people's lives. And what better thing to do than to be able to help transform someone's life in some sort of a way? I mean, life's obviously not a practice round, right? There's a
Hmm.
beginning and an end point. And so we have so many hours, so many minutes, so many seconds in our lifetime to make an impact. And so that's sort of what gets me up. It lights me up and pays me well at the same time.
That's great. Win-win mindset. Love it. Gary, it's been such a pleasure to have you on the podcast. I am so grateful to have spent this time together, to work together. It's just so nice to have someone that aligns with a lot of my values, and I appreciate that. I appreciate you coming on the podcast. How do people find you and your law firm if they want to use your services?
Yep. Just Google Castle Law. Very, very simple. CastleLaw.com. You're going to find out all about us. Gary at Castle Law. Go ahead and reach out to me via email, and we would love to help mentor you, connect you. I'm a connector. I just happen to be a lawyer.
That's great. Thank you again. And I hope everyone from the audience resonates with this podcast, shares it with a friend. Find Gary Davidson, Castle Law, and thank you for tuning in.